Your Excellency, Minister of State for Health of Ethiopia, Dr. Kibede Woku, Mr. Abdallah Hamdok, friend, colleague from the Economic Commission of Africa, Mustafa Koloko, another good friend and colleague from the Commission, who's the Commissioner for Social Affairs of the African Union Commission. New friends on the panel, representatives of youth and civil society, African parliamentarians, excellencies, all present here to mark this important review of the ICPD. It is my great pleasure to be here this morning in what is the last of the regional conferences to review the entire package of the program of action that was born in this continent, in Cairo, in 1994. In a sense, history will hopefully repeat itself, that we together here will look ambitiously at what the program of action from Cairo gave us now 19 years ago. Because it really was an incredible platform that the ICPD program of action gave the world. It put forward concrete actions and objectives through which governments and countries could achieve sustainable economic development with human rights, equality, equity, dignity, and standards of human well-being at the center of a development agenda. As has just been said, this region, this lovely, wonderful region of Africa, has come an awful long way since 1994. But before I engage in a little bit more depth in terms of the successes that you have achieved, but also some of the challenges still to be met, let me at the outset thank the government and people of Ethiopia for their leadership in the population and development field, including some of the incredibly, remarkably successful achievements in bringing down maternal mortality and improving lives. I also do need to once again thank our colleagues and partners in the African Union Commission and in the United Nations Economic Commission for Africa, because this really has been a ride together to come to where we are today. This conference presents a unique opportunity to reflect on the situation in the region and to build on your successes and lessons learned, but also to be ambitious, to shape not just the review of the Africa review of the ICPD agenda, but also to shape what the Secretary General will be taking to all member states as part of the overall review of the ICPD. And let me push that a step further, because the review of ICPD will to a tremendous degree inform the ongoing deliberations that world leaders are having right now and will have over the next 18 months on setting a common and ambitious development agenda for the world as part of the post-2015 agenda. So what will go on in this room over the next 3 days and what the ministers will take forward on Thursday and Friday is not yet another small conference. It is really what will help set a path forward in the global development agenda. The IC Beyond 2014 global survey that has also been mentioned, which has been completed by 52 of the 54 countries in the regions, shows an overwhelming number of governments with an extraordinary strong commitment to eradication of poverty, creating employment, giving opportunities for youth, ensuring rights and access to sexual and reproductive health services, including HIV prevention for young people, eliminating mother-to-child HIV, transmission of HIV, increasing women's access to comprehensive sexual and reproductive health services, and promoting environmental resource management. Such commitments that have been captured in this survey are a testament or explain the dramatic reduction of maternal, infant, and child mortality across the region since 1994. Your governments have shown significant commitments to improving the welfare of girls, ensuring equal access of girls to education at all levels, and ending sexual and gender-based violence. All this is captured in the surveys. Much progress has also been made on issues that are sometimes difficult to address, such as ending early marriage, addressing female genital mutilation and cutting, addressing the scourge of fistula. Most of your governments also expressed support through policy development, program implementation, and budget allocations for increasing women's participation in the formal and informal economy and increasing women's representation in political processes and political life. The narrowing of the gender gap in education and the increasing numbers of women in parliament and national office are a further testament to Africa's remarkable progress. And obviously, the true leadership from the two female heads of states in Liberia and Malawi, as well as the chairperson of the highest continental body on global development issues, Chairperson Zuma, are another very tangible examples of the leadership that African women provide. Africa's growing civil society of NGOs, youth groups, institutions, and people mobilized through social media and other ways, whose passion, decision-making, personal sacrifice has helped pave the way for girls' education, empowerment of young people, and breaking the deadening weight of many harmful practices, have also contributed to the successes. To you in civil society and youth movements, we owe an enormous thanks. And I'm really looking forward to hearing the testaments of these groups as we move forward in our deliberations this morning. Distinguished participants, let me now turn to some serious issues, because despite the gains and tremendous progress that has been made, as you all very well know, this region faces serious challenges. Africa continues to lag behind other regions, and there remain significant inequalities in access to quality services, information and education, inequality, social exclusion, gender inequality, poor governance, and lack of participation, insufficient research and data, as well as corruption, continue to hold back the region, which has such enormous potential and impedes the economic growth that's already ongoing from fully achieving sustainable development. There are challenges in relation to the labor market, fragility of social protection, urbanization, migration, and climate change, and they all have to be addressed. But we at the United Nations Population Fund and our colleagues around the UN system and at the African Union, we know that we can take tremendous comfort in the fact that African leaders and all Africans themselves are committed to the transformation and addressing this. Africa's current demographic transition needs a little bit of focus at this stage in the conference. Despite the overall decline in fertility rates since Cairo, the rates are still too high in most countries to create the window of opportunity for demographic dividends. There's been a tremendous increase in the number of young people, as you know, in the region, from 121 million in 1990 to 205 million in 2010, a rate which far exceeds other regions. This holds for the continent a promise for sustainable and equitable development if, and only if, we address the major challenge of providing all African young people with quality health care, including sexual and reproductive health, protection of reproductive rights, quality education, and decent employment. As President Nelson Mandela has said, there can be no keener revelation of a society's soul than the way in which it treats its children. Investing and empowering adolescents and youth is the way to success in this continent and around the world. Half of the young people that we're talking about are girls. This means we must decisively and decidedly address issues of Africa's girl child, eradicating female genital mutilation and cutting, prohibiting early and forced marriage, all forms of sexual and gender-based violence, the achievement of gender parity in education, and we must involve men, fathers, grandfathers, brothers, husbands, in promoting gender equality. Providing Africa's young people with information, knowledge, and services to enable them to make informed choices in their lives about their sexuality is critical for developing quality human capital that will power Africa's economic engine and ensure its transformation. Let me quickly address a few other issues. We do overall live in an aging world. As a result of declining fertility and increased life expectancy, Africa is also aging, and we must plan and prepare for these changing population trends. The global survey shows that governments are committed to address issues pertaining to older persons, such as promoting employment opportunities, providing support to families caring for older people, extending and improving old age allowances, which are unfortunately significantly lower in Africa than other regions. Africa also seems to have room to focus more on urbanization and environmental sustainability. Urbanization creates opportunities for sustainable development. We need to make Africa's cities centers of economic, social, demographic, and environmental opportunity and drivers of economic growth. A few words about health and health systems in general. Africa's various proverbs support the common adage that health is wealth. Despite marked achievement in most of the health indicators, Africa's people, particularly women and children, still die of preventable causes in great numbers. 165,000 maternal deaths in Africa every year. We need to prevent them. We need to focus on them. No woman should die giving life, and we must come together to ensure that reproductive rights of women and youth are protected. Let me end by sharing a story of some of the terrible consequences of weak health systems. 18-year-old Sarah Sukwa of Lusaka, Zambia, after laboring for 2 days, only to deliver a dead child, developed fistula, a terrible dehumanizing condition that often causes suffering, women being ostracized of communities, and abandonment. Sukwa and all those living with fistula, 2 million of them on the African continent, need to be part of the story that we focus on over the next days. We need to train healthcare workers to address this. Almost 20 years since the nations of the world came together in Cairo to endorse the ICPD goals and objectives as a means towards a better world, we have the opportunity to move that agenda forward. We cannot be satisfied until we end the suffering of so many, cannot be satisfied until the abject poverty and hopelessness experienced by many ends, and we definitely cannot be satisfied until we've created conditions for a thriving Africa worthy of its people and expectations. There are no excuses for inaction, no excuses not to be ambitious, and no excuses to shy away from the real issues affecting women's lives. You have the power to come up with a common position, putting rights at the heart of development and inspiring the rest of the world to take the ICPD agenda forward and help set a new global development agenda. Thank you so much.